Walls and curtains. I do not recommend walking through 12 miles of a minefield. Isadora Duncan and Nureyev decided not to do it, but Schlesy and I did. We were silly children. You can find children where angels thread the long black hairs of imprisoned princesses through the heads of needles they later used to inject heroin. But I digress. When we accomplished the dance through the deadly field, we had little time to bow for applause. We were arrested. Just as we were about to plunge into the Danube, two soldiers trained their automatic pistols on us, and the wolfhound threw himself at my thigh. For a brief second, the smell of dog and fear reminded me of Nemo as he was pulled from my arms by the bad man. Had my schnauzer been brainwashed by the border police into a wolfhound? Had Nemo become a meat machine programmed to destroy boys trying to escape socialist realism? This is the kind of thought that ballet and machine guns generate in combination. In such a moment, you must always remember the following epitaph: Amor vincit omnes. The soldiers marched us to a border shack. They ordered us to sit on the floor. "Thank you," said Schlesy. What a turd. "You're welcome," said the one with the grey moustache. "We saved your lives." "How's that?" I said. "You were about to die in that thing." "The river?" I said. "That was water. I can swim." "Not water," said the one without the moustache. "It's a sheet of 2-inch steel called the Iron Curtain. It's the horizontal curtain. We have to scrape it every day for people who think it's water." "If you had plunged," said the grey moustache, "you'd be balls of mangled flesh with bits of bone sticking out." "What now?" I said. The two soldiers looked at one another. Grey moustache pointed to the wall behind the wooden desk. Hanging there from two hooks were a pair of drills. Above the drills was a framed print of our father, Comrade Stalin. "It's simple," said No Moustache. "You have to drill for 1 hour through the Iron Curtain and slip to the other side. If you manage it, you're free. If you don't, we'll scrape you off later." We grabbed the drills and rushed to the Iron Curtain, formerly the Danube River. After 55 minutes of futile drilling, we hadn't even scratched the steel. With 5 minutes to go, I threw my drill away. It skidded, and it hit something I couldn't see but heard distinctly. It was a door with rusty hinges. There are two kinds of drills: the kind that opens doors and the kind that shuts them. My drill was the right kind. We slipped through the low door and bam! That's the thing about dialectics. There are two of everything. If you pick the right one, you're okay. If not, you must drill up the stairs of pain. As you can imagine, I kept my eyes shut the whole time we went through the steel door. Just before I opened them, Schlesy shouted, "Food! I can't believe it. It's food!" I opened my eyes. A man with a tall hat and a cigar stood in front of a long table covered with steaming dishes. Towering above all the dishes was a tall, uncovered pot of golden broth with fluffy matzo balls floating in it. Schlesy flung himself at the pot with his hand in the air, ready to fish a matzo ball out of the boiling broth. "Not so fast," growled the man with the top hat and cigar, whose name turned out was Mr. Capitalism. He waved his hand over the dishes that smelled so good I almost fainted. On each side of the table were mounds of blue jeans and T-shirts with band names on them. We had made it to the West. The West jutted out of the horizontal Iron Curtain in the form of a long restaurant table. Mr. Capitalism fixed us with eyes beaming business. "Before you gorge on this splendid usufruct, you have to answer that you're not a communist, an anarchist, a reptile, or a poisonous insect? He intoned gravely. Just to underscore the gravity of what it would be like if we failed to answer correctly, he impaled a matzo ball with a gold toothpick and stuffed it in his mouth whole. That did it for me. I said, I am a boy in search of his dog. He checked a long list of things, but boy looking for lost dog was not on it. So I passed. And you? Schlesy turned all kinds of purple like a drunk chameleon. Okay, said Mr. Capitalism, looking at me while Schlesy was rearranging his suspicious chromomorphosis. You can pull on some jeans, pick up a shirt, and sit here and have hors d'oeuvres until the musicians show up. The West was even better than I imagined. Schlesy barely squeezed out of the questionnaire. When he did, he was as white as an aspirin. Before we started gorging, Mr. Capitalism explained the menu to us. Liberty fries. Do not fear ketchup. It is the blood of freedom fighters. Pancakes. Edible flying carpets used to fly below radar. Matzo balls. Historical cannonballs filled with the 10 Commandments. Steaks, sirloin, flank, skirt steak, and prime rib. Roasted manifestos, cows still die for. And so on. There was no silverware. Schlesy pulled out a matzo ball bigger than his head. The broth burned his hand. Those of you who shook hands with him later when he was head of the World Bank will have certainly noticed that he always wears gloves that are very much like skin, but still feel like gloves. After we had gorged ourselves on olives and sourdough breads that had grown in defiance of school manuals, 3 kinds of anarchist olives grown in Luddite communes, and a variety of cheeses that compressed the territorial disputes of long standing, we were ready for the West. In our new blue jeans and T-shirts, mine said Lenin, we headed for new lives. Mr. Capitalism opened the doors of the limo for us, and we're off. I felt very hopeful. The beastly stepfather had given Nemo to a man on the other side of the wall. Now we were on the other side of the wall.